Hey everybody, it is Yanni Hamburger back, and this time we're on day 16 and we're doing witches today. So, what will we talk about? Well, I had a few plans, but I'm going to I'm feeling a little more Italian this week, and I think we're going to be doing that. We're going to be covering a movie from 1960. This one's called La Masero de Demonio, The Mask of the Demon, or as we know it in the United States, Black Sunday. All right, in the 1630s in Moldova, Asa Vaja, vampiric witch, and her paramour, Yarovich, are sentenced to death for sorcery by Asa's brother, Giarbi. Asa vows revenge and puts a curse on the descendants. Bronze mask with sharp spikes are placed on the, or sharp spikes inside are placed over Asa and Yakovich's face and hammered into their flesh, but a sudden storm prevents the villagers from burning them at the stake. 200 years later, Dr. Kroma Kiravan and Dr. Andrei Gobrek are traveling through Moldova in a route to a medical conference when one wheel in their carriage breaks. While waiting for their coachman to fix it, the two wander into a nearby ancient crypt and discover Asa's tomb. Observing her death mask through the glass panel, Kiravan breaks the panel and the cross above it by accident while striking a bat. He removes Asa's death mask, revealing basically a partially preserved corpse. He cuts his hand on the broken glass, and then some blood drips onto Asa. Returning outside, Kiravan and Grobek meet Katia Vaja, as she tells him she lives with her father and brother Constantine in a nearby castle that one of the villagers believes is haunted. Struck by her beauty and sadness, Gorobek becomes smitten with Katia, and the two men leave her and drive to an inn. Meanwhile, Kiravan's blood brings Asa's back to life. She contacts Zhavich telepathically, and he rises from his grave and goes straight to Prince Vijaya's castle, where Vajda is holding up a crucifix to ward off the reanimated corpse. However, Vajda is so terrified by the visit, he becomes paralyzed with fear. Constantine sends a servant to fetch Dr. Karuvjian, but the servant is killed before he could reach the inn. Zhavich then brings Kiravan to the castle under the pretext that his services are needed. They go to Asa's crypt. The witch hypnotizes Kiravan and says she needs the rest of his blood. Asa then kisses him, turning him into her servant. By Asa's command, Kiravan follows up on the request to tend to Vajda. He orders the crucifix removed from the room ostensibly so it will not upset him, but this allows Zhavich to come back later and murder him. Asa's plan to revive herself by draining Katia of her life, since Katia is physically Asa reincarnated, puzzled to hear that Kiravan abandoned his patient shortly before he died. Gorbek questions Sonia, a young girl who saw Zhavich take Kiravan to the castle. She identifies Kiravan's escort with a painting of Zhavich. A priest and Gorbek go to Zhavich's grave to find Kiravan's body inside the coffin. Realizing he is now one of the undead, they kill him by driving a nail through his eye. Zhavich throws Constantine into a death pit and takes Katia to Asa. Asa drains Katia of her youth. When the witch goes to take her blood, the crucifix around Katia's neck thwarts her. Gorobek enters the crypt to save Katia, but Zhavich attacks and pushes him to the edge of the death pit. Constantine uses the last of his strength to pull Zhavich into the pit and to push Gorobek to safety. Gorobek finds Asa and Katia. Asa pretends to be Katia and tells Gorobek that Katia is the witch. Accordingly, he goes to kill Katia, but notices the crucifix she's wearing has no effect on her. He turns to Asa, opens her robe, revealing a fleshless skeletal flame. The priest then arrives with many torch-carrying villagers, and they burn Asa to death. Katya awakens from her stupor, her life and beauty restored, and is reunited with Gorbek. So there you go. Barbara Steele was in this movie. She was a big-time English film actress. Of course, she's the queen of all screen queens and Britain's first lady of horror. She was Katya and Asa in this movie. It's really the biggest name you would actually get from this. Maybe John Richardson as well, as he played Gorbek in this movie. I apologize, by the way, for hacking a lot of names. My brain is just not functioning very well in this one. Mario Bava was your director. Of course, that makes this an Italian horror film, if you couldn't tell by the name of the of the movie. Again, another one of those great movies. If you are a sucker of classic horror like I am, you will enjoy this movie. And it is absolutely beautifully shot. It is wonderful, and I am so glad this movie was made, because it has had a lot of, I guess you would say, inspiration, or has inspired a lot of movies. Of course, Barbara Steele would later go on to appear in several horror films like The Pendulum, The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, The Ghost, The Whip in the Body, and of course 8½, by Federico Fellini. I love Fellini films, by the way. I'm a big sucker for Fellini films. Again, great movie. Go out and see this if you haven't. And we'll be back tomorrow with yet another horror film. We'll be doing phobias tomorrow. Hamburger out.